Oh, and now I'm here, hopefully to start talking about a Baldur's Gate.
A little bit of Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Not to be mistaken with Baldur's Gate, the first in the series, and also its sequel, Baldur's Gate 2.
I've never played those ones.
Not many people have, but also a lot of people have.
Oh, it's a cult following.
Speaking of cults of the absolute, welcome back to Favored Showcase, episode 3, where we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3
and
and
why
why.
it's... Oh.
Oh, no, you take it. That's yours now.
And why it's better than your favorite game.
And I know some of you are saying, well, Fortnite is a masterpiece, and it has the Ninja Turtles in it, and I see where you're coming from. I do, but let's get into the real meat and potatoes of what actually makes Baldur's Gate 3 2023's without competition, sorry Spider-Man 2, game of the year.
If I may.
Absolutely.
So I knew not a damn thing about Baldur's Gate before before I saw it. So like I was sitting on the couch and my partner in crime, of whom I live with, was like, "Hey, been hearing about this game called Baldur's Gate 3." And at this point I was in a video game slump. Like I didn't really feel like playing any games. There wasn't anything catching my eye. But when she booted it up and got into the character creator, I was like, oh no, what the hell is this? Oh, what the fuck? And then I saw down in the corner, Victor.
Yeah.
Down in the corner. First point in this game's favor.
Mm-hmm.
It can be single player.
Yeah.
Or it could be motherfucking co-op. And not just online, but local. When was the last time you saw a local co-op game?
I believe it was Mario Party 8.
Well, okay, yeah, Mario Party, but like, but you
But
know what I
no,
mean.
I absolutely get what you're saying. It has been a very long time since a game had a couch co-op. We're looking at you, Halo. It's been a very long time since there's been a game with couch co-op that works.
That works and isn't like a party game or
No, that is not a Mario Party game. But no, that's definitely one of the best points about it for sure.
because my first playthrough, and you haven't beaten it yet, but my first playthrough was with my partner. And it was just like it was an amazing experience front to back. How did you find Baldur's Gate
Ooh.
3? Did you know? I know you mentioned that you were keeping an eye on Larian for a while.
So, my experience with Baldur's Gate 3 has been ever since. Ooh, what was it? Was it 2016, 2017 when it got announced? That was my first looking at it, knowing a little bit of what Baldur's Gate was when it was handled by BioWare all those years ago as a very prominent CRPG, but this really kickstarted the interest into Baldur's Gate 3 as a D&D fan, which I very much am. I've been running D&D for almost a decade now,
Look
playing
at
D&D for
you.
a little longer than that. So it's, as a fan of role-playing games in general, this is obviously very much on my radar. Going back to my first experience with it, October of
What was it, 2020, 2021?
2020. It had to have been 2020 when it launched into early access. I pre-ordered it. I don't do that often, and there's a big reason that we'll get into in another video. But I took a chance on it knowing that it had very good potential. Right out of the gate, in the early access build, this game was beyond impressive. And it was not even where it's at today.
So how was the early access then?
The early access build was very, very rudimentary, yet a lot of the foundation was there. So you had the first 5 or 6 classes. So this was excluding Monk, this was excluding Paladin, Barbarian, and there was one more Bard. So that was excluding all of those. Didn't have half of the items in it. Textures were unfinished, or basically just changed straight up in the later builds. It was very solid for what it was.
And now it's not to get ahead of myself, but
Yeah.
I think personally that this game's a masterpiece.
And we've had this conversation too within the last 10 years was a WoW game, right? Like it was a straight up, there wasn't really anything bad about it. I can maybe name 3 including Baldur's Gate, that being Witcher 3 and probably Red Dead Redemption 2.
You know what? That brings me to the next point. It's fucking finished.
It is. It very much is.
Which is a bad thing to say about video games as far as it being a point in the column. Now, obviously, there's bugs and stuff still here and there,
But they're not game breaking.
But no, they're not game breaking, and they're on it. It's just like being constantly updated, still getting updated.
If I can speak on an experience that has left me with very bad tastes over the years, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I was very excited for that game. Heard many great things about it. I will tell you right now, as somebody who has tried to play it within the last month, it's unplayable.
What, just like bugs and shit, or?
It runs horrible. It is a mess.
Oh no.
That is not the experience you're going to have with Baldur's Gate 3.
Not
at all.
Not at all.
This game, I've seen this game run on systems that it is not supposed to be, is not meant to run on. It is optimized. This game is... You can run this game, and I've seen it done, because my sister does play it on a MacBook.
A MacBook?
Yes.
I didn't know about all that. See, I played on a PS5.
This game runs. This game runs.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. That kind of settles the first thing. In the year of our Lord 2024.
That Lord being Bane or Ball or Merkel.
Merkel.
Yeah.
Bane, Ball, Merkel.
The Dead 3.
A big plot in this. Which, you know what brings me to the next point, and probably the biggest point is the story and just character interactions. Because I think that's a big thing that carries this game, because a lot of video games, they put it out there like, oh yeah, you can choose and you can control what happens, this and that, and it changes the end of the game. So we just played an RPG not too long ago, and we're big fans of it, Fable. But like, ultimately, it ends the same. I believe in an interview I saw that there are over, like 10,000 endings or something. BS
there are, I won't go as far to say there is 10,000 endings, but there is 10,000 possibilities. As far as endings go, truly, there's over a dozen.
And that depends on your choices. So, like you said, maybe not like 10,000, but like there are...
No, I will give it to you. There are thousands and thousands of possibilities going towards the ending.
Like variables. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as far as like true endings go, like over a dozen at least.
And even then, that's still impressive. And it's all based on your choice, which is even crazier to me. Depends on who you run into. So, my first playthrough, out the gate, I killed Karlach. Fan favorite. But here's the thing. I've been so used to video games where it's like, okay, I'm trying to follow Will's quest here. He seems suave. He seems like a good guy. And I was playing a rogue. So I'm like, oh, there's the mark. There's the target. We'll just get a jump on her. He said something. It's like, oh, I wonder if that was the right thing. And we're like, what? What do you mean? Isn't that... We were supposed to do that. What are you talking about? And I looked, and we learned that you can start the game off as one of your companion characters. And one of them was Karlach. I'm like, oh, fuck, we fucked up, didn't we? And lo and behold, when we got Karlach, we fucking loved her. But that's just an example. You can go through the whole game without basically one of the main characters.
Any of them.
Yeah, any of them. You can go through the game without any of them.
And this is, if I may, to make an example of the wider audience, Baldur's Gate has real choice. It is one of the only titles I've ever encountered that has real choice. To speak on an example recently, in recent history, of an RPG that gives you the illusion of choice without really giving you one, Cyberpunk 2077. That game, it kind of railroads you, because it's like it gives you these choices, but in the end it's all the same. There is no way to possibly, and people are going to attack me for this, I know, because there's different endings and blah blah blah. It's all the same thing. Baldur's Gate 3, you truly do one small thing and it can make the largest thing different.
Yeah, because everything you do in the first act basically affects both the second and third acts of the game.
And you can attribute this. Everything you do up to the last hours of the game can you attribute to the ending. It's not just like Act 1 is determining things in Act 2 and Act 3. It's stuff in Act 3 is determining Act 3 right now. It's like
Yep, that too.
it's crazy.
I kid you not, whenever I would restart the game to do a different playthrough or whatever, I found something different every time.
Every time.
Like, there are NPCs you can bring back to the camp, there are quests, there are different people you can just straight up murder, there's people that you can, if you don't do their quest, they just go away and you beat the game without them. I'm currently doing a Dark Urge playthrough.
Which we should just get into that at some point as well.
Yeah. But basically, for now, it's an evil run, and I've basically got no companions. I've got 3 out of the possible. How many possible people are there?
So you have Shadowheart, Will, Lysel, Astarion, you
Yeah.
have Gale, you have Jahira, you have Halsin, you have Minsk,
Minthara, depending on how you play it,
Minthara.
you can get Minthara.
I think that might be it though.
Either way, that large
There's a lot of
cast
them.
and I have killed most of them, or at least let them die.
Shout out to Alfira. Anyway.
That seems so innocent, and then it wasn't. But we won't get into that part. But it does bring me to like just the human element to it, right? Everyone feels, for lack of a better word, just like real people. You know what I mean?
They are written with real experience. And this is what happens, and I don't know if you know this information, but this is what happens when you have characters that are written by one person.
Oh, only written by one person?
When you have individual character writers, it is crazy the difference between what that writer can do for that character in difference to what a team can do for that character. Because if you have one vision all the way through, 9 times out of 10 it's going to feel more real.
Yeah, and it's just so coherent.
Yeah, it's just what happens when you give somebody a character and they know that character inside and out, right? So every decision that goes on within this game, the person who knows that character the best is making that decision, is making that reaction, is making that choice.
Yeah, no, it's not cut and dry. Like there are tons of things where decisions you think you're making, like especially if you're trying to romance someone,
Mm-hmm.
cheesy crazy. You think you're making the right decision because like, oh well, I think I have a grasp, but like there's so much nuance that like no, they don't agree with this choice in particular because of, I don't know, something that happened in their past or
Just an example, if I may. Shadowheart. When you walk into the Druid's Grove, there is immediately a fear buff that is put, or a fear condition put on her because there's just a wolf. The small, and I know how small that sounds, but it's like, yeah, that character is terrified of wolves.
and then you think like, oh yeah, that's a neat little character trait. You added a fear, but no, it like they explain it. They go into depth about it. They explain why she's afraid of wolves.
And that's literally just one small example out of the sea of choice that this game gives you.
Yeah, no. And then of course, like I said, that there's the romance options, the romancing aspect too. You actually feel like you're getting to know this character. It feels very genuine. Wait, have you tried romancing anybody?
I have, and I can say, and I for those who may relate out there in the world, when you are interested in someone, the way that starts out, this game very organically portrays, right? I'll use Will as an example. Will is this folk hero who is very charismatic and very almost proper in a way, because he's the son of a duke. When you are going through the first act, and at first you guys talk, you can tell right away that he is obviously a very almost storybook hero character. He is somebody who will give the shirt off of his back and help the innocent. After the events of Act 1, let's say that an event happens where he is changed.
Yeah.
With that change comes a different side of this character, a side in which obviously you can still see the foundation of that hero, but also you can now see the foundation of somebody who has been stripped of that, technically. Going back on the romance, at the end of Act 1, you guys kind of have a celebration, depending on what you've done, depending on what has happened. In that celebration, when you talk to Will, he opens up to a different side again. So let me do this now. This is the third time this character surprises you in the way that and it's just the first act. So this is the third time this character has displayed this side, and this side is the lover boy, the noble, the guy who knows about wine, the guy who knows how to ballroom dance. It's crazy.
It is. In playing this, I also learned, especially as far as choice and to that 10,000 variables and the organicness and stuff. I think if I'm looking at things correctly, it looks like you even have two romantic endings for each character, and I think that's bare minimum because I haven't gone through all of
That
them.
must be bare minimum because I think there's technically a few.
Because like so my first time through, and I'll try not to do too many spoilers, but I was rizzed up by Gale. I don't know what it was, but like I was just like, oh damn, I'm a wizard, you're a wizard, we're gonna be wizards together, it's gonna be great. And there are at least three paths where it can split as far as decisions that he can make. And you know what? Now that I think about it, depending on who you bring along, it even affects like they all have a big plot point depending on where you are in the story.
Absolutely.
Now Halcyon comes later, but like he's big in the first act, and you're kind of getting to know everybody and stuff in the first act. But come the second act, Shadowheart gets a big role. Again, I won't say anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
And even like right before the second act, there's two branching paths, and Lae'zel is very a big thing in a couple of the acts. Gale from like start to finish, there seemed to have been every act he played some sort of role through the whole thing. But it's just amazing. It's definitely worth a shot. In fact, like I said, you could easily just not have them around either, which is just crazy.
You could technically do this game solo
and have it be cohesive still.
Yeah.
I need to add this. You don't lose anything from playing how you want to play. Like I said, I'm playing that evil playthrough, and parts of it are like heart-wrenching because I've gotten to know these characters, but also you just get to see so much.
Yeah.
There's just so much stuff to see still. So many ways to go about it. So you know how usually you go to like in the second phase you go to Last Light?
Yes.
You don't technically have to.
Oh, of course not.
You don't if you're a bastard in Act 1, you get to Moonrise a completely different way.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you get opportunities for different companions. And that's just crazy to me that they thought of all this detail. It's not just like oh well, yeah, eventually you have to go. No, you don't.
And I think I can truly speak to what Baldur's Gate 3 is, because genuinely I feel that Baldur's Gate is not a game. It is a true experience. Like, it's not even like
it sounds corny as shit.
It
but
does.
Yeah,
It does.
But it is.
It sounds like you're on fucking drugs. Yeah, it's called Larian Studios. And you can buy it for $60. It really is. It's an experience. I don't. It's a narrative mechanical experience that I don't think will ever get old.
No, I don't think it will. And you know what? We can also even get into the gameplay here because I actually absolutely love what they've done with the gameplay. Because for me, it almost plays more like a strategy game.
It absolutely is.
Like that's what it is. Like you think like, oh, RPG, swords and
Nope.
shit, like Skyrim, you go around flinging stuff. No, you have to sit there and
Think.
meticulously plan, and each encounter, each fight is just set up in such a way I can just gush over it. It's a thrill anytime I find a new encounter, and depending on the class you pick, they give you tools for each individual class and what you can do, and depending on your playthrough and the items you get. It's just all so interwoven so perfectly, and I think that's the thing that makes it so good. Like
And
everything's just interwoven beautifully. They thought of everything. Like literally everything. So for those who don't know, it's a turn-based combat system where similar to D&D, you walk in and they roll some dice for initiative and each person takes a turn. And you can move, you can use an attack. The way I'm going to explain it, like it doesn't do it justice because
that goes back to me saying it's an experience.
yeah,
It's literally like you have to be in it to really know.
because I remember you made the small joke about the Spider-Man thing at the beginning. A lot of people were like, well, yeah, but if you look at this and like, oh, but you look at Spider-Man too, and it's just like, yeah, it was a pretty game, and I'm sure the combat was satisfying, but like, this is different. This is how many hours? I mean, shit. I
If
want to say,
you are if you are trying to put it to a number for your first playthrough, I will put somebody I will put the person who is inquisitive enough to want to go through everything and get to the end at least 95 to 110 hours.
I think my first playthrough was around like 300.
Yeah, I mean you can go crazy.
It's nuts. And
I mean, you think about it, and really, what is the last time you've put over 100 hours into a single save file of a game?
oh, Elden Ring.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the
But what
last one.
about before that?
Uh, Bloodborne.
Okay, so in between, no, in between Bloodborne and Elden Ring, that is what 7 or 8 years. In between Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, that's what 2. So we're already starting off this fucking decade of gaming pretty well.
It's weird because like I can gush about the story and the character, but like even just the gameplay mechanics, it as a game is a sight to behold because you can play however you want. The
Masterpiece.
customization is just crazy as to how you even go into a situation, deciding how you want to go about doing everything. It's not just like, oh, you get to shoot some bows. You can sneak maybe, swing a sword, cast some magic.
And
There,
just to speak to that real quick
yeah.
before you get into what you were going to get into, it is actually important in this game for your numbers to be right. I think that should speak to how technically good this game is.
Elaborate.
For literally anything in Baldur's Gate 3, there is a dice roll. What you do in the beginning of the game and your early levels can either help or hinder you in every situation. Speaking on somebody whose first playthrough was a very strength oriented playthrough, I wasn't talking to nobody. I wasn't getting through anything with my voice, and there's a reason for that. And I think that speaks to what you were just saying about the ways you can play the game.
And some people may or may not like this, but like unlike a game like Skyrim where like you could feasibly like, okay, we're gonna put everything into two-handed, next we're gonna work on sneak, next we're gonna work on magic,
Mhm.
and you could just like have it all basically if you really put the work into it. This game does not give it to you all. You definitely it speaks to the group dynamic. There's a group dynamic that you'll want to have.
And you could also attribute it to putting it this way. Think about this. You have Skyrim, right? Where you can feasibly get to whatever level you want. You got 12 levels, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Level
You
cap
got
is 12.
12 levels to do so much to either perfectly make an expert in something or try to be as well-rounded as possible. And I will tell you right now, being well-rounded in Baldur's Gate 3 is doable, but it is hard with 12 levels.
Yeah. With that said, you can respec with my best friend forever, Withers. He's my BFF. I don't know if I ever told you that story. He was the only one that would talk to me at the beginning. We couldn't figure out how to make anyone else talk to me. It was all my partner, and the only one who would talk to me and didn't say something along the lines of like, "Oh, I don't have time for you," is Withers. So, forever in my heart, Withers is my best friend for life. But you have your BFFL Withers to reset if you really do need to.
Of course. And
I
there is
haven't.
no restriction to that.
No. If you have the gold, he will do it. I will say I haven't figured out the dual classing, but there's also dual classing.
Multi-classing is fun. It's a fun thing.
It is a fun thing. I actually, because I tried it, I did it for the pun, right? I
Yeah.
made a barbarian, but did you know that when you're in rage, you can't cast spells?
Yes, I did know that.
They made it so you couldn't do that. I didn't know you couldn't do that. So like the barbarian wasn't gonna work because basically at that point you're picking: are you gonna be a bard right now, or are you gonna be a you like they don't work well together. Which is cool. They let you do it, but like you really have to put thought into that one as well. And I think that's like one of my personal favorite parts is like it has you think and it gives you enough to play around with and enough good story and characters to make you want to think to get to the next part. And man, it's so rewarding when you do beat a difficult fight and you do get the team comp and the strategy just right.
No, it absolutely it's a great feeling when, and I think we can get into this a little bit too, is when you are going for something specific and you find that item that brings it together, or even if you find that item that you want to revolve around, which is and it's funny to say. It's like, I mean, like, you see build guides all the time for different games, and I mean, it's nothing new that people will revolve a build around an item, but there's always usually in other games, let's say Elden Ring, we'll actually go with that. There are a handful of items that you can revolve a build around in that game.
The
Realistically, in Baldur's Gate 3, I think you could take any item and do that.
Yeah, definitely could. I played a necromancer my first time through.
Mhm.
And side note, I've always wanted a necromancer that played like this, cuz towards the end game you just get hordes of fucking zombies, and that's all I've ever wanted. And the other one is like you can summon a skeleton. Wow. Thanks.
Thanks.
Where's my troves of undead? You can't get those. Oh.
What do you
You
mean? You can't do that.
but I'm a necromancer.
Nah.
So I played as a necromancer, and like you find items that like just increase the viability of whatever it is you're trying to build. So within the classes, there are even like subclasses and shit. Like you said, items, and you can build your character around the one item, but also you can find items that generally work for the primary class that can still work within like the subclasses, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And since we're on the topic of loot, actually, you had mentioned before that they're really good with that too. It's not like a Borderlands game or some of these other RPGs where you're getting items every second and it becomes
No, no, no,
unviable
no. So
in
so
like 5 minutes.
absolutely. This is very much a game where you get an item and that can very well be what you have for the rest of the game. Inversely, you can also have a very situational item, and I'm sure you've run into this with different encounters. Sometimes you'll need an item to be like, yeah, no, we could bolster that up a little bit. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, and you change it up and you keep certain items in your
I don't know
inventory
if you've
so
done
that
I don't know if you've done an honor mode run yet, but very very helpful in honor mode run.
so we are doing one of those. My partner tried a couple of times and she kept failing. So I'm like, you know what? This is local co-op though. So why don't I get on here and we'll do this run together? And we currently are. We're doing really well, I do have to say. I believe we just got past Grimforge. Meanwhile, couldn't even get past like the goblins in Act 1
Yeah.
on their own.
Hey man,
Which
it definitely changes the experience when you're going from solo play to a team.
yeah,
Um
because you have ideas to bounce off of each other
and
and
I think yeah.
so we're backtracking a little bit here because we already mentioned the co-op thing being a but I think we need to elaborate on that one too because it's a much different game when you have a friend.
Absolutely. Funny enough, I think it's a faster game alone.
Yes.
Combat seems faster. Progression seems faster technically. But with a group, you have security. You have the ability to do stuff that you probably wouldn't be able to do in a solo run. I think that's a very big advantage to having a partner play with you, is that they're going to have skill sets, you're going to have skill sets, it's just going to be a smoother operation. Solo play, like I said, is faster and sometimes a little bit more rewarding in my experience, only narratively. I think narratively, Baldur's Gate 3 is a very great experience alone.
So it is a great experience alone, but I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit. I think it's just
Perfect.
as rewarding when you're doing it with two people. Like I told you, first playthrough, no one else would talk to me but Withers. But we figured out, and I think they also patched a few things where now I can also talk to people. So you're getting so
Oh,
technically you could
if
be
they've patched it since then, let me take back my words because yeah, like in the beginning, it kind of felt like obviously the person who started the game was getting
the main character.
ahead,
It's the
right?
main character
And then your secondary
syndrome thing
character was kind of like
along for the
there,
ride.
you know.
Yeah. They have changed it since then.
That's great to hear because I guess I haven't really experienced that at this point.
You know, I rizzed the shit out of Gale, and we saw multiple cutscenes at the end even for each of our stories.
That's wonderful.
So
So let me
you
rescind my statement. It's probably better now.
it's great because you get to see multiple stories play out. It's almost like watching a freaking like TV show almost, where it's like, oh man, we just got past this, and then you had that little argument with Will or whatever or Karlak, and me over here, I'm with Gale trying to help him cope with his past, and like it's just it's great because you get to see all of that in one playthrough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, mind you, if you're doing split screen, you can't talk to two people at the same time and hear the voice come out of each of them.
Yeah,
We usually did take turns and we just went over and listened to each other's conversation.
yeah.
But I've always wondered how it is in an online thing where you could
I can
probably
speak to that. It is very different. You can have two conversations at once, or three conversations, or four conversations at once
which,
in an
which I
online play.
which I almost think could add another
It
air
does
of something, especially if you lean into the roleplay aspect and you're talking to like Shadowheart in secret
exactly.
and you don't let on.
And a small feature in the game. Once you're doing that, you can private that conversation.
Yeah, see, so like for me that's cool. That's a cool detail,
you can make it so nobody else has access to that conversation.
and it's just it's a beautiful fucking game.
It's let me just say right now, we could go on for hours.
We could.
But we do want to explain the point that I think we've touched on a lot of major points here. And I think that's what the goal of this video was. But we could go on about so many other things about this game. It is a fantastic experience. And if you are not, even if you're not a gamer, I don't think you need to be that's why I kind of exclude it from being like it's just a gaming experience, because I think you could truly go into this as a book lover, as a movie lover, as a writer. You could go into this as so many things and still get such a rewarding experience out of it.
Yeah, and then even for gamers, there's a lot of technical aspects. You don't need to go into the technical aspects, but if you're the min-max kind of person, you could do that. I would say it's high skill ceiling, but very easy to get into.
Yeah,
Like any
high skill ceiling. You could be as low effort as you want with this game.
or you could min-max the crap out of it. Whatever you want to do.
Either way, whatever
It's your
you'd like to
choice.
do, and that
Yep.
and ultimately that is the overarching factor. This game is about choice, and fuck, does it have it? Like it is so much.
It's choice and it's interwoven perfectly with the story. Nothing feels out of place.
No, not at all.
Nothing. Whatever choice you make, it comes back. It does something. They do nods. They do if someone dies in Act 1, and I'm telling you everyone could die. You could kill everybody. In fact, actually, I learned this. I don't know if they patched it out yet. So I don't know if you knew about this, but in the very early productions, they considered having Tav, that's the player character, talk.
Yeah.
They actually had recorded lines and everything. If you want to edit this part out for spoilers, you can, but otherwise, spoiler alert. If you go an evil character, right?
Mm.
Basically, in Act 1, you side with the goblins and you destroy the grove, and the party is with the goblins instead. And Minthara and stuff is there. But then in camp, you can turn around and kill the goblins.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently there's a voice line still there from Tav.
Well, I mean, and obviously as a Dark Urge player, you've seen this. The monologue in the beginning when you pick
It's
Dark Urge.
Shakespearean, dude.
It's
I was
fucking
I was I was
crazy.
drawn I was drawn in immediately, and I'm like, and I'm not even playing it full. Like I based my entire playthrough on that monologue.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going straight embracing it, but I'm not denying it either. The evil stuff, but like I'm playing it as like that tortured Shakespearean soul of sorts, where it's like I don't know where I came from and shit, and it's starting to get juicy, dude.
That that monologue. And is it weird to say that that monologue is one of the best just lines in that game? Like
Yeah,
and that is literally character creation.
yeah,
It's crazy.
and like that's not even getting like all the stuff we've talked about. Haven't even touched the Dark Urge stuff. It's a completely different
It's
experience.
a different game.
It's a different game. They made a
Um
game within a game.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's everything I could want out of a game. Great story. It looks good.
It looks fucking fantastic,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
It looks fantastic. Like you said, it runs great. Very little bugs. I'll forget about game breaking because there's hardly any bugs. It's a very finished, polished game.
Yeah. Also, for those game breakers out there, once you think you have something, you don't.
Yep.
Because Larian has thought of everything. I don't know how they did it, but they've thought of everything, and what you will do to try to break the game will only make them stronger. It's ridiculous. But I think as a capstone to this discussion, because I think we could go on forever. Larian Studios truly produced and made a game that will be around forever, and it is a finished experience with so many different ways to play and so many different ways to experience it. And as somebody who has felt the recent shift in the gaming industry as far as quality and as far as performance and all of those things, this is the outlier. This is what gaming should be, in my opinion. Like, Larian did it, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
um, real quick, I can tell you what I'd love them to do next.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but maybe if I put it out in the universe, I want them to remake KOTOR.
Now,
I
Connor, that's
do.
a whole other discussion.
I know, but I'm just throwing it out there. Baldur's Gate was a BioWare game. KOTOR's a BioWare game. We're gonna get into discussions on canceled games later on. But I would love to see them do it because they've done this series so much justice. I would just love to see them do ground up, just remake it.
That'd be amazing.
That's
But
all I'm
I
saying.
think
And they're
that
an amazing studio.
I think that is a discussion for another time, and I'm excited for that discussion. But I think this is where we're gonna end it for now, though.
Yes, I agree. Because
Um,
we could go on forever.
we could absolutely go. And honestly, this might not be the last discussion on a Baldur's Gate 3 related thing at all. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end it. If you did enjoy our discussion today, please consider liking the video, possibly subscribing to see what we do next. This has been Favorite Showcase, and we hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.